Awesome. So, hey everyone. Uh, Thanks for tuning in. We are back with another workshop, and as we move towards the end of the hackathon, I hope everyone is doing well and working on the projects and following the commit schedule. So, we today have a workshop from Omer. Omer is from Lavanet, and he's going to talk about how the hackathon participants can integrate or leverage or use the Lava's P2P RPC uh, network. So over to you, Omer. Please introduce yourself and take over the workshop.
Hi, everybody. Trying to get my screen shared, but it's Harpal, you might need to help me with that.
I can share, Omer.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's disabled.
Oh, it's disabled?
Yeah.
Can you check now?
Works now. Oh God, it's making me pick from all of my tabs. Okay. Assume is this.
I can just share and we can start.
Yep, works.
Oh, you've got it.
Okay.
We ready to start, or do we want to wait for a few more?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can start now.
we are recording. We can start.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Welcome to the Lava and Cello Hackathon RPC workshop. I'm glad to be here speaking today. If you want to go to the next slide, Omer.
Yeah.
Let's start by a quick introduction. So, Omer, do you want to go first?
Hello, guys. I'm Omer. I'm the VP R&D of Lava Protocol. I'm an engineer and a security researcher. I've done zero days research in the past, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thanks, Omer. Hey guys, I'm Ethan. If Omer's the giga brain, I'm the mouthpiece, I guess. I'm the head of marketing and community at Lava. Before this, I was in Web 2, where I learned all about the potential, but also the limitations of Web 2. And I bring that to Web 3 to see all of the possibilities that Web 3 can bring and the things that you guys will be building in this hackathon. So yeah, pleasure to meet you guys. Before we begin, I just wanted to point out that we have the Lava Bounty on offer, which all of you can apply to. Omer can share a link in the chat. I think he might have already done. He hasn't. Harpal did.
Not yet, yeah.
But we can send a link in the chat where you can apply for the chance to win our bounty. It's super simple, 1-minute form, and you just need to use a Lava RPC endpoint for running your project. So would highly recommend you guys apply for that. He's just sent it in the chat there. Next slide, Omer. So I want to begin super simply about Web3. You guys all know what Web3 is. For many people, it symbolizes all sorts of different things. One of these might be ownership. Another thing might be freedom. Another might be sovereignty, decentralization, digital money, where it all began with Bitcoin, transparency, community, all of these words that we throw around every day in this small world of ours in Web3. But I want to pinpoint one particular framing of Web3 for this workshop, and that is Web3 is your playground. You guys are all developers, you're builders, and you guys want to build the next applications to change the world and build a better internet. And if you go to the next slide, you will see an illustration of this. This is a chart that shows the growth in monthly active developers in Web3. And you see there in the top right, the sharp shoot upwards is where you guys are at. Well, this time last year, but trust me, it's even higher this year. And you guys are at the peak. You are the forefront of innovation of technology. And we're happy to be accommodating you in this workshop. Some of the things that you guys are building in this hackathon are incredible. We've already seen some of the submissions. For example, some of you might be building wallets where you can provide tokens for carbon offsetting. Some of you might be building educational games to educate people about the dangers of climate change through technology and gaming. Some of you might be building token incentive frameworks and mechanisms to incentivize people to pull together funds to address air pollution, climate change, global warming, fracking, all of these things. So some amazing projects here. But if you want to build in Web3, there's one question or two questions here, I guess, that you need to ask yourself first. How do you access Web3? What does it mean to access Web3? Well, the question is, how do you access blockchain data, right? A blockchain is just a database. And for a database to be useful, you need to be able to read that data and also write to that data. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Next slide is how you do that, right? So blockchains are built with this idea that all of us should run our own nodes, and therefore you don't need to trust anyone to read your own copy of the blockchain. So you can verify the state of the blockchain using cryptographic proofs. However, this is not great. It's firstly impractical. Some of you may run your own nodes, some of you may not. It's not something all of us can do. It's also not very scalable, both practically and technically. So on a technical level, you might be building an application, say a wallet that has thousands or maybe millions at large scale of queries every day that your RPC nodes needs to serve. And this is something that you might have to spin up a new node for, and it's something that requires a lot of maintenance and skill. So it's not scalable. And the last point is that there's a high cost to utilization ratio. It means that you might have to pay for, let's say, a $200 server a month, but you're actually making very few RPC calls every single day. And you're not actually getting your bang for your buck. You're not using all of what you paid for. So these are some of the issues with running your own node, but above all, it's simply not practical when we're working at scale. And so Lava is solving this problem, and Lava is working specifically with Celo and a few other chains to provide RPC service. Right? RPC is just a communication protocol that any application uses to request data or to access blockchain data. And you can see there some of the announcements that we made. I would highly recommend you guys follow the Twitter as well, where you can see some of the other announcements that we're making, including like we did with Celo. So Celo, we have the public RPC, which you guys will be using most likely when you're building your applications. And I'm keen to hear if anyone knows what the name of the public RPC is. I'm sure most of you do. Would love to see some people type that in the chat. If just to check that you guys are there and can you hear me through my poor internet. Anyone know what the public RPC is called for Celo? Oh, but maybe you know.
Should I just click the answer or?
3, 2, 1. I guess no one knows. Okay, so the answer is on this slide. It's Forno. Maybe you guys don't know it's RPC. Right, RPC again is just a communication protocol that blockchains use, that applications use to access blockchain data. Right, and so Forno is the public endpoint that you guys will most likely be using to access and retrieve data from Celo, and it's run by Celo themselves. Or I think it's run by Celo themselves. There might be some third party that received a grant from Celo. But there are loads of benefits to public RPC. One, it's completely free. It's free to use, and you don't need to run your own node, which is another benefit. It's more scalable as a result. You just plug and play. It's like one line of code or a few lines of code in your backend, and you get access to Web3. And it's something that a lot of developers use, not just in Celo, but across other ecosystems to access blockchain. However, there are some drawbacks. The drawbacks are, if you go to the next slide, that for production grade applications, public RPCs are rate limited, which means that because it's free, people can abuse it, exploit it, and flood the system with RPC traffic, right? So what happens is that the people who run these endpoints rate limit or throttle the amount of relay requests any application can make per day, which means that you cannot scale as you would like for production grade applications. Additionally, there's downtime. Again, sometimes the endpoint or the node crashes or the server crashes under the load of high traffic. For example, you guys may have minted NFTs in the past, and you may have seen that something goes wrong. That might be an RPC node somewhere going down. And also high latency. So I don't want to use real tokens while we build. Jose, that's a great question. And yes, that's perfect. You don't need to use real tokens. We understand that's a pay point. So the RPC node will be connected to the testnet. Yes. Looking forward to seeing your application. And the last thing is high latency, right? Sometimes you have nodes that aren't distributed. And so sometimes there's latency in the network. So another way to think about this is that there are 5 generations of node infrastructure across ecosystems. First, you start with running your own node. And this is the ideal. It's censorship resistant. It's decentralized. You don't need to trust anyone. However, it's not practical, like we said. So what's happened is that public RPC endpoints have popped up. These are free to use, easier to use. Omar, do you want to click the next one?
Yeah.
These are public endpoints. These are easier to use. You don't need to run your own node. You can just plug and play into a public endpoint. But this is trust-based. Now, if you want to use something even more performant and scalable, you have centralized providers. These might be, I don't know, Alchemy, Infura. These are Web2 businesses which provide great service, but it is trust-based, right? So you're trusting them not to go down. You're trusting them not to provide you with stale data, old data. You're trusting them to provide a latent network. You're trusting them not to use your data to sell to a third party because they have access to your IP address and can match it to your queries. Yes, Satya, this is helpful. The reason why is because RPC is used by every developer in Web3, right? It's how you access Web3. So I'll say super relevant to you. So that's a centralized provider. And then the next one that would be used is multiple centralized providers. Instead of just using one centralized provider, use multiple so that you can reduce the reliance on any one node. So this is more scalable because you can load balance your traffic across more nodes. You can also compare responses across different nodes to ensure that someone's not lying to you or there hasn't been a man-in-the-middle attack. But again, this is not really that helpful or practical because you have to maintain multiple providers in your architecture. And so let's dive deeper into like what are the issues with centralized providers. The issues are that firstly, there's a data accuracy issue. You don't know whether the data is legit, whether it's actually from the blockchain. You also don't know whether it's stale, whether it's the most up-to-date blockchain data. And you're trusting that they're providing you accurate data. The other thing is around downtime, right? These providers often go down. You're relying on them to solve the issue themselves, and they often go down. The third point is around privacy. Again, centralized providers have access to the IP address, which is making the call, and also the queries, which are being made by the client at the IP address. And so there's a privacy issue there, which can be abused down the line. And you really see this in Web2, say Facebook, they know your address, they know your entire profile, and can serve your ads, and there's been privacy issues concerning that. And finally, you have censorship. We saw recently, for example, Tornado Cash, which is a smart contract app on Ethereum. They were sanctioned by the US Treasury for things like money laundering. And so all RPC providers, all centralized RPC providers, were told they had to censor access to Tornado to comply with the US law. And you can imagine a world where, let's say, the government says all of Web3 is breaking some law. These RPC providers will have to censor access to Web3, and we'll have no Web3 anymore. So you need some sort of decentralized access. And that's what Lava Protocol provides. So Lava Protocol provides censorship-resistant, easy to use, performant, and scalable node infrastructure, which holds node providers accountable for great performance. And that's what we're providing to participants at Celo Hackathon this year. Someone raised a hand. I think Chigunye, you raised your hand. Happy to take your question now. Feel free to come off mute or to type in chat.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Paul. So I've been following your explanation. So I want to know, how is Lava, when you're saying about censorship and legacy data, so how can we trust that Lava is providing the right decentralized and plugin API for developers to use? How are we sure that you're not also doing the same thing Infura and the rest of the lights are doing?
Sure. Good question. I think there's one easy answer I can give, and then Omar, I also will know is going to jump in.
No, please go ahead. I can fill in later.
The first answer I'll give is that we will be open source, right? We're still in alpha testing at the moment. We're still in private testnet, but upon public testnet, we will be open source, which Infura, Alchemy or not. So it's completely your own piece of code to play with, and to verify that we're doing what we promise we're doing. Omar, did you want to add something?
Yeah, sure. Actually, within my slide, you can see I'm going to talk about Lava's sea of nodes. And the key point is nodes are accountable for the data they provide. So you say, how do you know they provide the right data? Within the Lava protocol, if they don't provide the right data, they will be penalized. And the means to it is described. You can read about it in our light paper, and in the future you could read in our code. So you could see how it's implemented and how we make sure that nobody corrupts the data you receive. Does that answer your question?
Guess I think it might have not sure what happened.
Maybe
connection. But yeah, that's a good, yeah. So it's about the open source nature, which allows you to verify yourself, and also the accountability that node providers are held under through the incentive framework. And yes, Teresa, it is multi-chain, and Celo is one of the amazing ecosystems that we're working with initially to provide service for.
Okay, if you guys have any questions, I'm going to post here our Discord. You are free to join, ask the questions. We have several channels. You could have links to the light paper if you're interested how it works. So I will continue here. If you guys have any questions, I saw a bit of them. I will answer them shortly. Okay. So what I want of you to think about Lava is as a sea of nodes at your disposal. So it means you don't have to write your own code that takes several centralized providers into account. And, in case one of them is down, you go to the other, and you need to hold many subscriptions. And there's no mechanism of anybody to say what's right if you have two providers giving different data. So let's say you ask Alchemy and you ask QuickNode the same query and you get a different response. What are you to do as a dApp developer, right? It's not even your concern to do if you get a service that does it for you, okay? And with that in mind, we need to know that that sea of node is accountable for the data you're getting. What does accountable means? It means it's both susceptible for disciplinary actions in terms of financial loss and reputation loss in case they are found guilty of data corruption or data malformation, and in the case that their service is not good enough, meaning they give you stale data, they give high latency, they're not answering at all. So this is all embedded within the Lava protocol, and you guys can get it through our different access methods. That's one of them is what we exposed on the bounty. So as alpha testers, we pre-made the endpoints on the full Lava experience. I'm gonna shortly show a glimpse of a video not disclosed anywhere before this workshop. You could see how endpoint creation is gonna look like once it's open to the public. So nodes are rewarded for fast, reliable, accurate data, and they're punished if they're not giving it. So obviously it's a carrot and stick situation for incentives, and the developers have the guarantee that if a node is being caught, he will be penalized, and they don't really have to be the ones catching it red-handed. Other consumers, as part of the protocol, will catch it red-handed. There is an entire mechanism that allows them to do it. And most importantly, you don't have to take care of it while you're developing. You just know that it's behind the scene. You understand how Lava works. As Ethan suggested, it's going to be open source, free for you to also suggest. And we are hearing, and we are very community-oriented development. So Lava Network gives you decentralized and performance, just like running your own node, but with accountability and access to a sea of nodes. So it means it's scalable. It's very high uptime because one node falls, automatically you connect to a new one. Easy to use. Okay, so how does it work? Tip of the iceberg. You have a lot of providers at your disposal through the Lava service. Lava sends a query to one of the providers. That query returns 800 CUSD response. Now you want to know if it's all right. Okay, so what you're doing is you're sending that query to a different node, get the response. You have an entire protocol of making this available through a lot of providers. You get agreement of a consensus on that data, and then you know that that data is correct. Also, something you get from that sea of node is you, as a consumer, get access to a lot of providers. Some of them will be further away from you, and they will provide you a service that's not as good. So we have a clustering mechanism in which low latency or low availability providers from a certain region or geolocation are paired up with consumers from the geolocation automatically. So as a consumer, you could select a geolocation, but also low providers that give you insufficient service will be paired less with you because of our clustering mechanism. And that means you will be paired up more often with providers that give you quality service rather than ones that give you bad service. So on Lava, you're getting latency, you're getting availability, you're getting sync, and these parameters are put into the report. Your endpoint is gonna report to the blockchain, not directly, okay? So it doesn't cost you any gas. The providers themselves self-report in a smart mechanism that makes sure they can hide it. And the data is gonna get on chain of the quality of the service you got in order to adjust our clustering mechanism and adjust rewards, as I said, accountable. So if a consumer is not happy with the service he got, meaning there's a high latency, was measured through the endpoint, then this means that the provider will be financially punished, okay? Encouraging providers either to adapt to the right geolocations or improve their service, opening up extra endpoints. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a sneak glimpse of how Lava looks like. So we have our gateway. The gateway is the means in which developers on development stage and want very easy onboarding experience can open up endpoints. This doesn't give the full Lava experience, but this is the easiest to use, and it is on par on what people are looking for when they just use centralized providers. Because in order to support the protocol, there needs to be extra code, a backend or an SDK, but we're saying, hey, we want to make it comfortable for everybody to use, get them on board the idea that they don't need to trust the data they're receiving. And obviously, this is going to be a product that's going to be also super helpful for people to get access to data. If they don't care about decentralization, they just say, hey, I just want my sea of nodes, high availability. Yeah, let me go through the centralized gateway. I don't care about some of the stuff. And maybe later you would care, and it would be an easier transition. Okay, so I just want to show nice gateway demo. So you have your account on Lava. Doesn't necessarily mean you're only using the gateway. We're going to offer some more experiences like policy selection, maybe an academy. Okay, so by logging in, I am moving to the gateway. A slow video. Okay, so I'm on the gateway. I have my project list. I'm going to create a new project, meaning it's a new dApp. I have my user, I'm a developer. I have my dApps that using several endpoints. If you guys are very sharp, you could see some of the endpoints we are already supporting. Okay, this is the production gateway available for selected alpha testers, and you're more than happy to check our Discord. I'm going to repost the link if you want to apply for a private testnet. And you know, we are collaborating with Celo. Very nice stuff to see there. So this is the gateway. I'm creating a new project. I'm selecting project name, build with Celo demo. I'm selecting two endpoints. So this is the AlphaHores endpoint and the Celo mainnet endpoint. I stopped it a bit later. Okay, so I have my two endpoints here. The Celo and the Celo AlphaHores. And also, if you apply to our bounty, you're going to get two endpoints, one for testnet, one for mainnet. So don't worry about your tokens and about your experience. You could experiment with our pre-made endpoint that we provide to our bounty participants. And obviously, there's cash involved in the bounty. So if you win, you can get a nice prize. So I'm going to show here, I show Celo support for both JSON RPC. Oh, it went back, sorry. So we have Celo support for JSON RPC through WebSocket and direct HTTP post and GET requests. They're currently testing it within gateways, not within the demo. Some stuff you need to leave to the imagination. But bounty participants could experience how the second part after you get your endpoint looks like. You're getting a snippet for easier use with the endpoint as a copy. Later, when you're into the gateway itself, you could also experiment sending it from the gateway and experimenting with enhanced security policies such as JSON token security and stuff you guys might be familiar from centralized providers. Okay, so to recap, Lava protocol gives you higher uptime because it's not up to one entity. There's a lot of entities, not the same party, not funded by the same person. They have all their own incentive of giving you free service, and they're gonna, overwatch each other. Okay, this is why you're getting accurate data. You have who to compare it to, and there's a protocol that says exactly what happens in case there's a discrepancy. It goes on chain on the Lava blockchain and says, hey, there's a discrepancy. Someone needs to get patched. Okay. This also means you will get low latency because high latency providers will get rewarded less. It will be less financial. They will be financially incentivized to improve the service. And with due time, only good providers will survive. It means also censorship resistant because nobody's owning the Lava protocol. It's going to be people joining in on the decentralized protocol with their decentralized, for the Tornado Cash example, Ethereum node, and they're going to run these two nodes, and you as developers will just get direct access to those nodes. And we are aiming to make it as easy to use as possible, giving you several ways to access the blockchain queries and data. First one was glimpsed today. Other two are not yet out, but they're going to consist of a backend you just deploy or an SDK you integrate. Okay. We are alpha testing at the moment. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. Feel free to join us on Discord, have a chat with us. Ethan and me are available on Discord if you guys want to ask us questions and that you forgot right now. Yeah, I will go now over some of the questions.
Awesome. First of all, thank you for taking out your time to do this workshop. And yeah, this would be a good time for everyone to raise their hands if they have any questions, or use the Q&A or the chat. So yeah, feel free to raise your hands. We have one hand raised. We also have one question in Q&A. So Umair, if you would like to take that question.
Okay. Question is, does Lava Network technical prowess follow POC, proof of work, proof of identity, etc.? So Lava Protocol is going to be a community-owned project. Okay, so adding support for more service is not going to be at the hands of the developers. Obviously, we're going to have an initial supply of several chains. Some of them you saw in my demo, such as Celo, obviously an important one. So those are going to be supported initially, and then adding more support to more chains is going to be up to the community. How is it going to be performed? So through the Lava blockchain, based on Cosmos SDK, you propose a proposal, and if validators accept that proposal, you get a new chain in service. Obviously, in order for validators to approve that, it needs to be technologically available. Okay, so if you need, for example, a chain that only supports a new type of protocol, like we didn't show gRPC, working on gRPC support right now for some nodes that support gRPC. So if you want a new type of API, that will need to be developed either by the community and integrated into the project first, or by the Lava treasury company that enhances the development based on the DAO decisions. Okay, but that means that you have several kind of networks supported. And currently, if you were sharp enough, you saw we support Ethereum, and we supported Ethereum pre-merge. Okay, Ethereum was supported before it was a proof of stake, so it was a proof of work network that we supported. Obviously, now it's a proof of stake, and we support other chains. So basically, the consensus mechanism is not the thing that stops our support here. Obviously, data reliability needs to be adjusted. Okay, if you have fast finality, if you don't have fast finality, there's a delicate balance here how to decide about the correct blockchain data, and wait for our white paper to see the juicy details of how this is implemented.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks. Any more questions?
Yes, please feel free to raise your hand if you want to talk. Feel free to join Lavanet's Discord or even Celo Discord and ask questions there. We will have Umair and Ethan available there for you to answer questions. And if you joined in the middle, like if you missed some part of the talk or workshop, don't worry. This will be available as a recording on YouTube, and the links will be available to everyone on the invite list. So yeah, don't worry about missing any part of the workshop.
Okay, guys, I loved meeting everybody and try to teach you about the services you're getting, trying to ramp up the technological level of how service in the blockchain and Web3 world looks like. Thanks for Celo for creating this program and this collaboration. Super appreciated, and we're excited to be here.
Thank you, Umair. Thank you, Ethan, for joining today and taking out the time. Thank you, everyone, for joining and taking out the time for the workshop. All the best for the hackathon, and don't forget to apply for the Lavanet bounty.
Okay, good luck, guys. I hope you build some nice Web3 stuff and enjoy your time.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.